As we go through this spring calving season, there's always those calves born to first calf heifers that we have doubts about whether they're getting enough colostrum, enough of what the scientists would call passive immunity, which is basically the absorption of the antibodies that's in that first milk or colostrum that gives the calf some disease protection. Well, it's a very, very important concern and one that we need to take into account. There was research done at the USDA Meat Animal Research Center up in Clay Center, Nebraska back in the 90s that gave us a really good look at how important baby calves getting colostrum within the first few hours of life really can be. What they looked at was 263 calves born out on the range, and then they followed those calves through the first day of life, and they looked at the blood to see how much antibodies actually was absorbed and in the blood of the calves, and then followed those calves through the weaning process, even into the feedlot as they became yearling and older cattle. What they found was that the calves that got what they called a failure of passive immunity, or didn't get enough antibodies, therefore probably not enough colostrum, those calves were 3.2 times more likely to get sick between birth and weaning. And when they broke that down even further, what was happening was they were 6.4 times more likely to get sick in the first month of life. And most of that's going to be calf diarrhea or scours. Those calves that had that failure of passive transfer were 5.4 times more likely to die between birth and weaning. Now, if they made it to weaning and eventually went on to the feedlot, those calves that they had categorized as being a failure of passive transfer, not getting enough antibodies that first day of life, those calves, when they got clear to the feedlot, were 3 times more likely to get respiratory disease in the feedlot, and they gained much poorer than their counterparts that actually got enough colostrum that first day of life. The lesson I think that comes from all of this research is that we've got to do what we can to make sure that calf gets enough colostrum within the first few hours of life. The way we go about that is to have our replacement heifers in good body condition so that they will give their genetic potential for the amount of milk that they have. And if a calf is born to a difficult birth, then we need to be there to provide some colostrum through perhaps a commercial product. The bottom line is that they need to get that colostrum, that passive immunity early in life. It's important not only immediately, but throughout the remainder of that calf's life. Hey, we'll visit with you again next week on Sunup's Cow-Calf Corner.